Yeah. Now, we were talking earlier about, we think it's pretty outrageous that local elections are being cancelled for 5.5 million people in the following areas: East Sussex,
West Sussex,
Essex,
Thurrock,
Hampshire,
Alawite,
Norfolk,
Suffolk.
Surrey. That is extraordinary, and that is because they are reorganising. This Labour government is reorganising local councils. Let's talk to the Reform UK councillor for Ongar in Essex, Janie McIver. Jamie, good morning to you, Jamie.
Morning.
As Nigel Farage says, this is what dictators do. They cancel elections. There is absolutely no justification, is there, to cancel these elections in your neck of the woods?
Do you know, you're absolutely right, and Nigel Farage is absolutely right. There is absolutely no justification to cancel these elections. And, you know, the people out there, the people I've been speaking to in the last sort of 24 hours, they cannot believe it. We had a council meeting to debate the matter. Not that it was much of a debate, because the Conservatives and Labour had already decided what was going to happen. And, you know, only a handful of councillors actually voted for elections to take place. And since that meeting, I've been inundated with messages from people across Essex, across the country, saying, you know, carry on exposing what is happening here. And I'm so pleased that GB News is taking this story so seriously.
Can I just ask you, Jamie, when were you elected as a Reform UK councillor?
So I was actually elected originally as a Conservative. I left the Conservative Party and joined Reform.
Right.
And so I've been with Reform since the autumn of last year. And I was so excited to join the fantastic Reform candidates that we have across Essex. I've met most of them. We have such an exciting campaign literally ready to go. Certainly in my part of the world, in Epping Forest, at the weekend, we was in Epping, Faden Boys, and we had the most amazing, most incredible response from the public. We were just standing at the side of the road, sorting out what road we were going to campaign on, and people were tooting, pulling over. Someone actually pulled over and said, "Can I come out leafleting with you?"
Yeah.
You know, there is such an atmosphere out there for the Reform Party at the moment, and the fact that both the Labour Party and the Conservative Party have worked hand in hand to make sure these elections are cancelled in the areas where Reform are polling so well. You know, it's a truly sad day for democracy.
Just explain to us, Jamie, why what's happening to local government in your area which enables this Deputy Prime Minister to cancel the elections. How are they reorganising you?
So we've got three things going on here, really. First of all, there's the postponement of the elections.
Yeah.
There is the proposed devolution, which is more money from Whitehall into local communities, which I think on the surface is a nice idea. I certainly would trust local councillors over most members of Parliament, and certainly would trust my local councillors over most civil servants. And then there's the local government reorganisation, which is the idea that we abolish the district councils and the county council, and we have bigger unitary authorities. And I have great reservations about that. I represent a very rural division. I have 24 beautiful villages. Are they going to get swallowed up when it comes to places like Harlow, Saffron Walden, and the bigger towns that is proposed for my area to be joined with? So I have huge reservations about that. But ultimately, what's going on here is all of a sudden everyone's decided that the current way of working just doesn't work, and we need to just grab the opportunity to cancel elections by accepting being in the speedy boarding lane for the government's devolution agenda without any proper public consultation. When you walk around Essex, nobody says, do you know what, the solution for all our local county problems is a big, powerful mayor. Nobody says we want to reorganise. You know, never. I go canvassing all the time. Never has anybody said we should abolish the county council and the district council and create a unitary. This is just a load of councillors. They are absolutely petrified of the ballot box in May, and they've been petrified and rattled in my area for a very long time. I mean, my district council's got a majority of one, I think. You know, they are using a 2021 mandate, which is completely out of date. And the ironic thing is, many of the Conservatives have called me to call a by-election. I think I'm about the only person in Essex County Council that is in touch with the people of Essex, if you look at the current polling.
Well, why don't you call their bluff, Jamie, and call a by-election, because I think you'd win it.
Do you know what? I think I would win it, but I tell you something, unlike most politicians, I'm not interested in an ego boost. I want to serve my residents, and the last thing I want to do is cause that unnecessary headache. But I tell you something that is really bad, is we keep being told, and the Deputy Prime Minister said this yesterday, that this is all about money, and, you know, we don't want to waste money. What an absolute insult to people who have served this country, whether that be in our military or in any other form of service, to say that democracy has a price. What an absolute open goal. You know, what absolute food for a dictator. Music to their ears that, you know what, because of the price of an election, we're just going to cancel it this year, guys. You know, money's a bit tight at the moment. It's absolutely dreadful.
Jamie, there'll be people watching this who are very politically engaged. That's why they're watching GB News and why they're listening to it. Would you recommend getting involved in local councillor positions? What does the job involve? How satisfying is it and how hard is it?
I think it's actually something we don't discuss enough. It's a really difficult job, actually, being a local councillor, because you're this public figure without an office supporting you. And certainly in my area, I represent Ongar and 24 beautiful villages. The size of my division is actually larger than a lot of parliamentary constituencies. So it's like being a mini MP almost. But what I would say is it's the most rewarding job. If you care about your community, if you love your community, and you're looking around you at the moment and seeing things you disagree with, then you absolutely should become a local councillor. And actually what we've seen in the Reform Party, we have had so many incredible candidates coming forwards, not wannabe politicians, ordinary folk from across the community saying, actually, I want to stand and I want to be a candidate at the next election. And I've been really inspired by some of the stories and some of the real genuine life experience that these candidates are bringing to the table.
OK, thank you, Jamie. Fascinating stuff.
Really
Jamie McIver there from Ongar in Essex.
I do think it's an outrage what they're doing.
It is outrageous because, do you know what, it's not just about reform as well.
No,
as we saw in those figures recently, there'll be more people voting for Green now post the election than there were when we had the election. There'll be Green councillors who will be furious about this and want to be candidates.
And also, it's a time to protest about the services you're getting. I mean, there's no... Where we live in London, there's no elections. But, I mean, this is... I've never heard of it.
It's also about the fact that right now there is a growing groundswell of grassroots political engagement.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. You're seeing it, like Jamie said there, about people just coming up to you and beeping their horn when you come in. People are engaged at the moment because they're so dissatisfied. And what this policy does, what this change does by cancelling these local elections, it just quashes all that. It risks quelling that kind of engagement in politics. Well, do you know what? You push it down too long, it'll blow. And then they'll regret it.
And you know who won't be able to stand for election? Dame Andrea Jenkins, who was a Tory MP, who's defected now
to be a mayor.
Reform. She was running to be mayor, and she was a hot favourite up in the Scunthorpe area of England. That election's been cancelled.
I think, isn't it? Is that one's been cancelled?
Yeah.
Right, keep your messages coming.
Mrs Thatcher had a good Lincolnshire word. Frit. They're frit.
They're frit. I'm frightened. Right, still to come, social media has been branded a cancer to children. Should it be banned for the under-16s?